Today, we're diving into one of the most chilling and just baffling unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. We're talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. Whatever happened on that frozen mountainside has haunted investigators for more than 60 years, and honestly, it's a story that will stick with you. Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 1959. Picture this. You're in the vast, unforgiving wilderness of the northern Ural Mountains, deep inside the Soviet Union. It's the dead of winter, and all you can see for miles and miles is just an endless, brutal expanse of ice and snow. And this is the question at the very heart of the story. It's what has kept people up at night for decades. Why would a group of expert hikers, we're talking seasoned pros here, suddenly slash their way out of their only shelter, their tent, in sub-zero temperatures, and just run, with barely any clothes on, right into the deadly Siberian night? It makes no sense. All right, so the whole mystery really kicks off right where their journey tragically ended, with the discovery of their final desolate campsite. So weeks go by. The group is long overdue. Everyone's getting worried. And then finally, on February 26th, a search party spots something on a desolate mountainside. On the slopes of a mountain with a pretty ominous name, Holich Cha, which literally means dead mountain in the local language. They find it, the hiker's tent, and it's just this eerie sight. It's partially collapsed, half buried in snow, just flapping in that relentless wind. And this is where things get really, really weird. The rescuers see these big gashes in the side of the tent. At first, you might think, okay, an animal, the weather, but no, they realize pretty quickly it was deliberately cut. And the most chilling part? It was cut open from the inside. Inside, the scene is just bizarre. I mean, everything they owned was still there. Their warm coats, their sturdy ski boots all lined up, their cameras, even their money. There was sliced ham and cocoa, like they were literally about to have dinner. It's like something caused them to flee in a sudden, violent panic, leaving behind the exact things they would need to survive. So who were these hikers? Because to even begin to understand this mystery, you really have to know who we're talking about. So the group's leader was this guy Igor Dyatlov. He was only 23, an engineering student, but already a super respected outdoorsman. And his team? They were all friends, fellow students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. You had 7 men and 2 women. And let me be clear, these were all skilled, experienced, grade D hikers. Yeah, this was no walk in the park. They were on a seriously grueling 16-day trek. The plan was to ski over 186 miles of incredibly harsh terrain, and the whole point? To earn their grade 3 certification, which was like the top-tier, highest honor for hikers in the entire Soviet Union. So again, these were not amateurs. They were disciplined, they were skilled, and they were prepared for the absolute worst. Or at least they thought they were. You know, they actually found the group's diary in the tent, and reading it just breaks your heart. It paints this picture of youthful excitement, real camaraderie. One of the last entries actually said, "I wonder what awaits us in this hike. Will anything new happen?" Talk about a chillingly ominous question, right? And here's a twist of fate for you. There was actually supposed to be a 10th hiker, a guy named Yuri Yudin. But just a few days in, he had to turn back because of really bad joint pain. Imagine how disappointed he must have been. But that decision, that stroke of bad luck, is the only reason he survived. He became the sole survivor of the whole expedition. So, back to the search party. After finding that bizarre scene at the tent, their sense of dread just got worse and worse as they started following a set of footprints, leading away from the camp. So these tracks, they led the searchers almost a full mile down this barren slope, heading towards a line of trees. And you just have to put yourself in their shoes and ask, why? Why would you go that far from your only shelter with no real gear on in the middle of a freezing night? And what they found was just horrifying. The first 2 bodies were at the edge of the forest under a big cedar tree, and they were dressed only in their underwear. 3 more were found scattered between the tree and the tent, almost like they were trying to crawl back. And it took until May, months later, to find the last 4, buried deep in snow in a ravine. But the key thing here, investigators found absolutely no signs of a struggle. No signs of anyone else being there at all. So finding the bodies didn't solve anything. In fact, it just raised a ton of new questions, and the official Soviet investigation that came next, well, that became just as infamous as the incident itself. Let's just talk about the cold for a second. The temperature on the night they died was about minus 25 degrees Celsius. That's minus 13 Fahrenheit. In conditions like that, without the right gear, you don't survive for hours. You're lucky if you last for minutes. So the medical exam comes back, and it's just a mess of contradictions. Get this, 6 of them officially died from hyperthermia, which makes sense. But the other 3? They had these catastrophic internal injuries. We're talking crushed ribs, fractured skulls. A doctor said it was like they'd been hit by a car. But, and this is the crazy part, they had no external wounds. None. Oh, and to make it even weirder, one of the women was missing her tongue, and some of their clothes tested positive for abnormal levels of radiation. What is going on? So, with all this conflicting evidence, what did the official investigation conclude? Well, lead investigator Lev Ivanov basically threw his hands up. He closed the case with this now famous, super cryptic statement: the hikers died as a result of an unknown compelling force. Now, you have to understand, for a Soviet investigation, that's insane. They were all about concrete answers. This was basically them admitting, we have no idea. And with that, they sealed the files and forbid anyone from going to the area for 3 years. And in all the years since, that phrase, an unknown compelling force, has fueled so much speculation. It's what turned this tragedy into a true modern legend. I mean, the theories are all over the map, from the scientific to the paranormal. You've got people who argue it was a specific type of avalanche or a weird weather event called infrasound, which is basically low-frequency sound from the wind that can make people panic. Then you get into the more sinister stuff, a secret Soviet weapons test gone wrong, a UFO encounter, even some kind of creature attack. And the frustrating part is, for every single theory, there's a piece of evidence that just doesn't quite fit. And you can see how this story has just grabbed hold of our collective imagination, right? There are countless books about it, so many documentaries, and there was even a horror movie back in 2013 called Devil's Pass that came up with its own pretty terrifying explanation. But when you strip away all the theories and the movies, you're left with a profound human tragedy. 9 young, vibrant people had their lives cut short, leaving a mystery that haunted their families forever. Yuri Yudin, the one who survived, spent his entire life searching for answers. And I think his words really say it all. He once said, if I could ask God just one question, it would be what really happened to my friends that night. It's a heartbreaking question. What really happened on that mountain? We may never, ever know.